We're almost there. Dan Labbe alongside Chris Fedor. It's our NFL draft coverage. We're going to be here tomorrow night, by the way, as well, for the second and most of the third round. We're probably going to cut things off around 11 o'clock tomorrow, but join us for that as we walk you through what the Browns will do at 43. And look, if they trade down, what they could do at 36, 37, 38. If they have like 14 picks in this draft after tonight, we'll see what happens. Marcus Peters to Kansas City. So now we wait. We see what the Browns do. I'm seeing some people talking about Malcolm Brown.
Malcolm Brown?
Would they really go that route again?
I don't think so.
They just took a defensive lineman.
No, they're not. Nope. They have too much on the defensive line.
All right, I just want to make sure.
No.
I just want to make sure. Again, a lot of options here if they decide to make this pick. Wide receivers, there are guys out there. Offensive linemen, there are guys out there. The running backs, no. Obviously, you're not going to take one of these second-tier quarterbacks here. There's a lot still that they can do. I think a lot of fans are nervous about Perriman, but is that a guy they would take?
I don't think so, actually. I'm just going to go by what I know about the Browns here. And they want to build in the trenches. They want to be strong up the middle. I'm just guessing here. Just guessing. But I think it's going to be Cam Erving. I don't think the Browns thought that Cam Erving from Florida State was going to be available here at number 19. I think they thought the Kansas City Chiefs at number 18, with their need for a center, their desire to run the ball, I think Kansas City thought, you know what, we could take Cam Erving, but we also need a secondary player, and I think the Browns are very happy about that. That's just me.
All right, so the Browns on the clock at 19, waiting their second first-round pick. And I'm looking here to see, I've seen some people tweet that they went with Cam Erving, but I don't no reporters yet, so we're not gonna run with that. The pick is already in. So let's see. Erving, like you said, a good backup option if Alex Mack leaves, because look, that's a real option.
Yeah.
That's a reality. It could happen.
So this sets up pretty well, though, for the Browns because, I mean, think about what they could considerably take here. Wide receiver, Aguilar's there, Perriman's there, Strong is there. So that's one position that they could take. Another one that they could take is offensive tackle. And you do have Humphreys from Florida. You have Clemmings from Pittsburgh. You've got Cam Erving also there. And then pass rusher, too. That's another spot that they could consider here. You've got Ray still on the board. You've got Dupree still on the board. Randy Gregory from Nebraska. Again, guys with red flags, guys with baggage, but guys that probably should be top 25 picks.
Again, I'm seeing Erving as I've seen a couple people kind of throw that out there. I don't know if they're just hoping or if they actually believe that could be the pick. Cameron Erving. Again, this pick went quick. This pick came in very, very quickly. So Ray Farmer knew who he wanted to take here. It was a no-brainer for him. Which makes me wonder if it actually would be one of those wide receivers, or if that would take a little more time to go kind of decide on one of those guys and maybe see if somebody would want to move up to get one of those guys if he is realistic about trading down.
The only reason I say no on the wide receiver, not because the Browns don't need a wide receiver. Everybody understands that. It's just deeper than offensive tackle. And I think, as I laid out, the teams between 23 and 32, you can make an argument that a bunch of them would take an offensive tackle. So the Browns' likelihood of getting a first-round caliber offensive tackle, not likely at number 43. The odds of one of those wide receivers that we talked about sliding into the second round, that's more likely. So I just think given the positions, I think offensive line or pass rusher would take more precedence here than wide receiver.
Yeah, it is sounding like it's going to be Erving. It's sounding like that's the guy that they are going to pick. Hedging their bets against a lot of things on that offensive line. This is a pick that Ray Farmer, again, if you watch that offensive line when Alex Mack went down, That's what's driving this pick. If it is in fact Cam Erving, this is what is driving that pick. Because when you lost Alex Mack, everything you were trying to do offensively went away. And that idea that you're trying to run the football, not turn it over a bunch, and that thought that your quarterbacks, Josh McCown, Johnny Manziel, Connor Shaw, Thad Lewis, maybe you get Sam Bradford. I think even if you have Sam Bradford, that's still your strategy, is to run the football and the play-action passing game. And that went away when Alex Mack went down.
Yes.
I think Ray Farmer is being very heavily influenced by what he saw when this team lost Alex Mack.
Not only that, I mean, who has been the target of so much criticism in the last couple of years along that offensive line? Mitchell Schwartz over there on the right side of that offensive line. So not only can you get a guy here in Erving who could replace Alex Mack in the future, Dan, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he's also your long-term solution for Joe Thomas. How often can you find a guy that could be a great left tackle and also a great center?
Yeah. Offensive line picks are boring. I didn't love the idea of picking an offensive lineman in the first round, but if you're going to do it, at least you got a good one. At least you got one you're going to be able to plug in for a long time.
Yeah. He's a Swiss Army knife on the offensive line. You don't see that very often.
And that's what they didn't have last year. They didn't have a guy that could step in.
What do you mean?
And fill those needs. When you had, I don't even want to go through the list of guys they tried when Alex Mack went down. I don't even want to go down that road. And again, there is that potential that, frankly, they just don't want to pay the money for Alex Mack a year from now.
Yeah, and we talk about a copycat league all the time, right? And we talk about trying to build your team in a form that makes sense for your division. In the AFC North, you got to be strong up the middle. So defensively, you've got to have that defensive tackle. You've got to have that linebacker. You've got to have that guy on the back end. At the same time, you got to be strong up the middle offensively too, so that center, quarterback, running back. If you don't have the running back and you don't have the quarterback, then you got to go with that other middle spot.
Yeah. So this could be the Browns' first round. Nose tackle, offensive line, which is what a lot of people have been saying all along that they were going to do. They're showing that trade from a year ago. The Browns traded away the opportunity to pick Sammy Watkins or Mike Evans or whoever they would have taken it fourth. And they received Buffalo's pick this year as part of that deal, and that's what they're about to pick right now. Roger Goodell is making it official, and it is Cameron Erving out of Florida State. So there's your first round. Defensive line, offensive line. The Browns added a lot of weight to their football team.
Nearly 700 pounds, Dan.
That team plane got a little bit heavier tonight for the Cleveland Browns. And you know what? Again, it's not exciting. It's not boring. I can be talked into this first round, though.
Yeah, I hope that Cameron Erving can catch passes.
And there's your problem. You didn't get that playmaker. You didn't get that running back or that wide receiver or that quarterback. You didn't get that guy this year. You're not going to get that guy this year. It's not going to be Bryce Petty or Garrett Grayson or one of these other wide receivers, down the road. Maybe the Browns are still in play to move in if a wide receiver they like starts to fall a little bit. Maybe they're in position to move in tonight and get a guy.
That's possible.
That is what it is. You have a lot of holes on this football team. You filled 2 of them.
Yeah, and they're going to build this thing from the inside out. Didn't they say that?
Yeah.
I mean, Ray Farmer has been giving hints left and right, and Mike Pettin has been giving hints left and right. They've said from the very beginning, when they first arrived here in Cleveland, we want to build this thing like the Seattle Seahawks. We want to be the Seahawks of the Midwest. And how did Seattle do it? Inside out. They didn't go flashy playmaking wide receiver first. They went Marshawn Lynch, offensive line, defensive line, pass rusher. And the Browns they've decided that they want to build this thing from the inside out.
And they played it pretty safe from a character perspective.
Absolutely.
The other thing, too, is they are fully aware that they do not have a quarterback. I mean, they can say all they want about Johnny Manziel, and they can say all they want about Josh McCown, and they're going to say that stuff publicly. they have to know that they don't have a quarterback. These guys are not dumb.
Of course they know that,
They
Dan.
know that. So you've got to go ahead but look at every move they've made, the guys they've signed. You didn't sign Carlos Dansby and Dante Whitner last year, and this year Dwayne Bowe and Brian Hartline. And you didn't sign those guys because you want to win football games 5 years from now. You signed those guys because you want to win football games last year. They won 7. You want to win football games this year. You want to win football games next year. So you better, if you're not going to have a quarterback, put together a team that can win without a quarterback.
Yeah, and they made that clear by being in the running for Sam Bradford and being in the running for Marcus Mariota. They're not comfortable with what they have, so they're going to try and go a different direction.
So that's what they do. It'll be interesting, and Bud mentioned it. We may never know how close they were or how in they were to get a guy like Marcus Mariota. They didn't get it, so they went with a very safe, presumably solid first round. Danny Shelton, Cameron Irving, a lot of weight, a lot of help up front.
Right.
They're covered if Alex Mack leaves. They're covered if they want to replace Mitchell Schwartz. Again,
that's the thing.
They're probably a better football team now than they were at 7:59 tonight.
Dan Irving might be listed as a center, and somebody's going to pull up his bio and see center. The Browns didn't draft a backup center. They drafted a guy who can plug in at another spot, guard, tackle, and then in the future, maybe take Alex Mack's spot. But he's going to play on this offensive line from day one, and I think he can play on this offensive line from day one.
The other thing, too, Ray Farmer knew who he wanted, and he went and got him.
Yeah.
Again, like we talked about. Ray Farmer knew the guys he wanted, and he got them. And maybe he wanted Todd Gurley. I'm sure he wanted Leonard Williams. Okay.
Yeah.
There were probably guys he wanted that came off. Vic Beasley was maybe a guy he wanted. But he got 2 guys that he's probably very comfortable with going to bed tonight and now moving on to the second round tomorrow.
So now we wait and see if maybe they want to try and get back into the late first round if one of the pass rushers continue to slide, or maybe if one of the wide receivers continue to slide.
Yeah, because again, when you start getting into the Patriots, the Saints probably want to make that second first-round pick. The Packers, these are teams that see the financial advantage sometimes of just bailing on that first round. And there's not a ton of difference if you're the Patriots picking at 32 or picking in the 40s. So maybe they want to bail on that first round, and maybe you can move up if a Perriman starts to fall or someone like that starts to fall. It gets very interesting at that point for the Browns. And I'm kind of scrolling through Twitter here. It's very, very mixed reactions. I've seen some people say they like the player, they hate the pick.
Okay.
Of course, there is the, we hate you Browns tweets, but a tweet here from Craig Lindahl. I love this quote, boring draft.
Yeah.
It's not a bad first round. It's not going to blow you away. I don't know if you're going to look back on this first round 5 years from now and say, you're not going to, and say this is the draft that turned the Browns around. But you might be able to look back 5 years from now and say, that was a good draft. You got guys who are an important piece, hopefully, of a winning football team.
And the other thing is, Dan, there have been so many times in the past with the Browns where they take a guy and you're simply dumbfounded. You're sitting there, you're staring at your TV, and you're like, huh? What? The picks haven't made that much sense. This makes sense. It does. You can reason with this. You can come up with logic behind this. And for both guys, it's not just Danny Shelton at 12, it's Cam Irving here at number 19. So again, I would just say for everybody that's just looking at his position that he played last year, Cam Irving is so much more than just a center.
The Eagles go wide receiver. There's your guy, Nelson Aguilar. You know what's going to happen? I'm just going to warn Browns fans right now. There's going to come a point where you're going to see him make a play. You're going to see Melvin Gordon do something great on the field. You're going to see Devontae Parker do something mind-boggling on SportsCenter. And it's going to be hard because Danny Shelton probably isn't going to make top 10 plays very often. Cam Irving,
That's true.
You're not going to see him on top 10 plays ever during his career. But hopefully when you sit down and watch these guys play, you're going to see the impact they have on the team. And it might not be the same as when you see a guy catch a 40 or 50-yard touchdown pass, but hopefully you'll be able to see the impact they make on the field, and you won't be sitting there saying, man, I wish they would have picked that guy instead.
And we talked at the very beginning of this how there are certain guys in the NFL that are going to build things their way. And we were talking about Chip Kelly, right? Chip Kelly doesn't care about me, he doesn't care about you, he doesn't care about anybody. He's just going to build things his way. I like the fact that the Browns are staying true to who they are and their beliefs. Their belief is they want to be tough and physical and strong in the trenches. They want to build the thing from the inside out. And they haven't been caught up in Sammy Watkins. And look, I wanted Sammy Watkins too. It would have been a nice playmaker, Mike Evans, Odell Beckham Jr., all of those kinds of guys. But Ray Farmer has one shot, maybe, to be a general manager in the NFL. And Mike Pettin might have one shot as a head coach. You have to go down doing things the way that you want them done. You can't let any outside influences get in the way. And I commend them for that.
Another thing I talked to Bud about, too, this feels like a draft from a guy who knows, unless there's absolute disaster next season, his job is not completely on the line. I think they need to show progress next year. But if you're willing to pick a defensive tackle and an offensive lineman in the first round, you probably trust that your owner believes in what you're doing and your owner believes in your vision. And as a head coach, I think we already kind of know that Jimmy Haslam really likes Mike Pettin.
Yeah.
There's got to be some level of trust if this is going to be your first round, that your owner is not going to turn around in however many months and just axe you because you didn't win 11 games.
Yeah, and this is a guy that I always thought made sense for the Browns. I just thought he would be gone. Honestly, I did. I thought Kansas City would take him at number 18. It's funny, I did 3 or 4 different mock drafts, and every single mock draft I did, I put Cameron Irving to the Kansas City Chiefs at number 18. I did not think the Browns would have a chance to get this kid.
Well, there he is. He is a Cleveland Brown, and obviously, look, if that's where you had him going, that's a valuable pick for the Browns. They got him at number 19. And they did it without having to give up anything. They did it where they can still tomorrow have a very good day and make this team better. And Saturday, they can have a good day and make this team better. What you're hoping is that you got 2 guys tonight who are going to be on your football team for a long time and that are going to have long careers in the NFL. And then tomorrow, maybe you go and find that playmaker. And tomorrow and Saturday, you start to try and find guys, and how many are going to make it?
Yeah.
50% maybe, if you're lucky. But you hope to find that 50% that are going to complement these guys and make this team better.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And speaking of Chip Kelly and doing things his way and all those kinds of things, isn't Nelson Aguilar the kind of guy that just belongs with Chip Kelly? He had to go against him in the Pac-12, or he saw him in the Pac-12, however you want to phrase it. Maybe even recruited him to Oregon. Who knows?
Yeah.
And it's about speed. It's about difference makers. It's about touchdowns with Chip Kelly, and that's Nelson Aguilar in a big package, that's for sure.
So we continue to monitor the NFL draft as we move along. Philadelphia, of course, goes with the wide receiver. So Chip Kelly, kind of a boring, you want to talk about boring drafts. Everybody was expecting Chip Kelly to just set the world on fire, and it did not happen.
It didn't, I bet he's weeping. I bet he's a little bit disappointed. If you would have told me today, Dan, at about noon, that Chip Kelly and the Eagles would have been drafting at number 20, I would have said, no chance. He's crazy enough to try and get something done for Mariota, or he's crazy enough to try and get something done for somebody else. But there he is, sitting at number 20. He got a heck of a football player at number 20. And that's the thing here, Dan. We're talking between 20 and 32. If the Browns want to get aggressive, or if another team that's already picked wants to get aggressive, there's some talent still on the board now at some big-time positions.
Yes, there is. Cedric Abuhi goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. There's another offensive line pick.
And that makes a lot of sense from their standpoint, because this is a guy, Dan, who tore his ACL in the bowl game. And you might be saying, wait, what? The bowl game was January, bud. Why does it make a lot of sense? Well, Cincinnati's offensive line is pretty set this year. They've got Andrew Whitworth on one side of the line, and then on the other side of the line, they have Andre Smith. Whitworth is 33 years old, though, and he's probably going to retire at the end of this season. Andre Smith is going to be a free agent at the end of this season. So if there's some team here in the first round that can take a guy like Abuhi and just redshirt him, essentially, not force him on the field, it's the Bengals who are set at those spots. This is a pick for Cincinnati's future, not necessarily the here and now, so it makes sense.
Cincinnati, that team. Again, you want to talk about a team that needs a quarterback. Think about Cincinnati's roster.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on now. Andy Dalton's taken them to the playoffs 3 straight years.
All right. Think about Cincinnati's roster. That's a pretty good roster, isn't it?
Without question, Dan.
What if they had, I don't know, could you imagine Matt Ryan on that roster?
Oh,
could you imagine, I don't know, throw Sam Bradford on that team? Like, he's not great,
right.
But, you think he's better than Andy Dalton if he's healthy. Man, if they could get that quarterback situation solved. And that contract with Andy Dalton is a weird one.
Yes, it is.
I mean, they can bail on that thing if they want to. They just reached that extension last summer, but that's a very team-friendly contract that they signed with Andy Dalton. They're going to roll with him because that's what they have, and they never actually pick high enough to go get a guy. But, man, the Bengals, with that roster, it just seems like they always kind of waste it because they just can't get that consistent quarterback play.
Well, they say it all the time, Dan. In the NFL, your ceiling as a franchise is the quarterback and the head coach. And their head coach is Marvin Lewis. There are some questions with Marv.
There's that too.
And your quarterback is Andy Dalton. And look, there's a reason why they go to the playoffs every single year, and then they're bounced in the first round every single year.
A tweet from the NFL Network, again, about Cincinnati's pick, Cedric Abuhi. Is he the most athletic offensive lineman in the draft? That's what NFL Network says.
He is absolutely one of them, and it's funny because if you think about Texas A&M and the guys that have come through there recently, you've got Luke Jokel 2 years ago, and then last year you had Jake Matthews. There's a possibility that this kid is the most talented of them. He's not the most refined. He's not ready to step on a field right now, but you can make an argument that the kid is the most talented of those 3.
All right, we're going to take a break while Pittsburgh just goes out and drafts a guy that's going to torment the Browns for the next 5 or 6 years, because that's what they do.
Just have Danny Shelton eat that guy, I guess.
Maybe.
My man is going to stuff some runs,
oh,
that's for sure.
Man. I'll tell you what, I've been spending some time talking myself into Danny Shelton. It's actually not that hard, because he's a pretty good football player.
I got another one right in my mock draft.
Look at you. See, you get full credit for that one.
Oh, thanks.
Full credit
Appreciate
for that. Very nicely done. Who'd you have the Steelers taking?
Kevin Johnson, the cornerback from Wake Forest.
That's not going to happen because he currently plays for the Houston Texans.
I know.
If they trade for him, we'll give you partial credit for that.
Come on. I still want the Armstead credit.
All right, we're going to take a break. Steelers on the clock. Broncos, Cardinals, Panthers next. The Browns, are they done? We'll find out. We'll be with you till the 32nd pick is made here on cleveland.com.